Hey, welcome back to Max Nafe Horsemanship again. And today I want to talk about your toolbox and the tools in it. Well, and this connects very closely to my last video, and I'll get to that in just a sec. But first I want to explain, what is your toolbox? It's not really a literal toolbox. It's not a physical thing. It's your mind. Your mind is your toolbox. And what are your tools? Well, pretty much every tip, trick, method, technique that you've ever learned, those are your tools. Those are the things that you mentally have at your disposal that you store in your toolbox. And you can use them if you need to. Now, how this connects to that last video that I just showed you, where I talked about haltering a horse. Again, it's a method I don't use often, but actually just after I did that video, I did have to use it on 3 horses in a row that weren't mine. Well, and it worked quite well on them, and I'm glad I knew it, even though I personally don't use that method on my own horses. It worked great on other horses. And I was kind of glad I did that video, because this kind of goes along with the same theme too. Is somebody made a comment on that one, and it's somebody that I know has got lots of experience with horses and been around horses for quite a few years, and they'd never heard of that way of doing things. I'm not quite sure how they do it, but I did say at the beginning of that video that there's probably a bunch of different ways of doing it that I've never heard of either. So I'm sure those are the methods that a lot of you are familiar with. But basically, it's, even if you don't use it, it's one more tool you can put in your toolbox. And someday if you need it, and if it's the right tool for the job, you can use it. And this goes back to what I want to talk about, your tools in your toolbox. And that particular scenario where I did use something, and well, I've said many times, well, right at the beginning it says, let's find a better way. And sometimes a better way is, we might not use it very often, but it's there. It's in our toolbox. It's one more tool we have at our disposal. And there have been occasions where I've been working with a horse and I come across a situation or problem or issue or whatever that I get a little stumped on, and then I start thinking, hey, wait a minute. I remember a few years ago I saw somebody do such and such. Well, that's a tool in my toolbox. And I pulled it out and I used that tool. And I tried it out, and guess what? In that particular case, it worked great. And that's why you need to collect as many tools as you can for your toolbox and put them in your toolbox. And you may only use them once, and it may be years before you do use it. But it's there when you need it, because every horse in every situation is different. And occasionally you're going to run into a situation where you actually need a different tool for the job than what you have in your toolbox. So the more tools you have in your toolbox, the better the chances are that you're going to have the right one for the job. So I encourage you all, not just to how I do things, because I think how I do things is probably pretty limited. There's probably, I did a video quite some time ago. I said there's more than one right way to do things. And I'm sure that my way is, I've assured you, I say it on all my demos, is, this is not the only way to do things. There's more than one way to do things. And those are your tools. So fill that toolbox up with as many tools as you can possibly get your hands on. And someday you might need one of them. How many tools do you have in your toolbox? Eventually, you are going to use them. Have a good day.